Howdy, folks. I'm Sassy Skipper, saltily sanitizing sneezing squirrels.
I'm Amber.
And here are more sneezing squirrels for us to sanitize? Amber, what kind of nonsense is this?
It's nonsense. That's what it is.
Folks, we're getting to the end of the week, and I was looking at my calendar, and I just realized that we have a live stream scheduled for Friday. So, sorry that I forgot to mention that sooner, but hopefully we'll see you all there. So I'll just keep reminding folks that, yes, we do have a live stream scheduled for this Friday, so we'll hopefully see you then. More details at the end of the video. Alright folks, our first letter is titled, I'm a 22-year-old female and my boyfriend is a 26-year-old male and he asked me for $1,500 to buy a Halloween costume. I am a 22-year-old female and my boyfriend is a 26-year-old male and we've been together for around 4 years. I was recently asked by him if he could get a personal loan under my name so that he could buy a Halloween costume. I am feeling a bit unsure about how upset I should be or if I should be upset at all. To explain the situation, he currently has around $5,000 worth of debt and does not have a job and lives off of payments from the government currently. When he originally asked, I got quite upset since for the last year his financial situation has continued to get worse as I currently pay for his groceries and essentials and without aid doesn't have basic essentials like toilet paper or soap, let alone food, and can only meet the payments of his rent at the moment. When he asked me for the loan, it was for about $1,500 and he wanted me to have an open personal loan since no financial lenders would give him any more money than he currently has on loan. I don't know why I felt like it was my breaking point, but I just cried and I told him that he was childish for asking me for money to buy something so stupid, and haven't spoken to him for the last couple of days. He asked me for more money when he is already relying on me to buy his groceries and is in so much debt from buying video games and action figures. I'm struggling to figure out what to even do or say to him. The reason that he wants the loan so much from me is for more of the same non-essentials that got him into debt in the first place. A custom-made Halloween costume seems like an outrageous thing to want to purchase in his current situation, but he doesn't see it as a big deal since, in his words, it's not a lot of money for you, and I think that I just need some advice on how to approach him and what approach might work to help him understand. No matter how much I've tried to explain the strain his dependence has on me to support him with his basic needs, this has been when we don't live together, and despite me trying to suggest loan consolidation or a selected person to manage his funds on his behalf that could benefit him, I feel like my approach isn't working. I would appreciate some advice on what steps I can take or what approach I might be able to use instead regards to talking to him and trying to resolve this issue in our relationship currently. Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk? Well, actually, this is just a relationship advice, so there are no jerks here.
Well, I mean, I still think there can be jerks even if...
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
But yeah, OP, I think you really need to think long and hard about this relationship. Because unless he has some serious change of heart, it doesn't sound like he's going to change his ways. It sounds like he's comfortable living off of borrowed money, and because he has someone to finance his lifestyle. And I don't foresee, no matter how nicely you broach the subject, he doesn't want to change. He's not going to change.
Yeah, this might be one of those situations where you two are not compatible, where if he isn't understanding the boundaries that you're setting and he isn't understanding why it's not okay to fully depend on you for these things, it just seems like you two have very different views on money. So you have to ask yourself, is this the kind of lifestyle that you want? It doesn't sound like he has any interest at all in getting his finances squared away.
Yeah, which is a big, big issue, especially if you would see a future with him, because you don't want to merge finances with someone like him and then take on all of his debt.
Yeah, not to mention once you two are married, then marital assets and resources are a much more murky thing to divide and split up.
So honestly, I would say you need to have a long, hard talk with him about finances and tell him, come up with some, like, what kind of financial situation do you need to be in to be comfortable? Yeah. Let him know, like, does he need to see a financial planner? Does he need to start paying down that $5,000 debt? You know, whatever it is, let him know what your boundaries are and stick to it.
Yeah.
Because, like, I love Halloween. Everyone knows I love Halloween, but I would not dream of asking for a $1,500 loan for a Halloween costume. And that makes me
Yeah.
feel like your priorities may not be compatible long term.
Well, and that's just it. And there certainly is a time and a place for a $1,500 Halloween costume if you have that kind of money kicking around and that's something that you are really, really, really wanting, you're going to get a lot of use out of it, then that might be one thing. But I don't know. I just feel like it's a little bit excessive if you don't have a lot of money just kicking around to burn, you know? But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Crawaway13 says, this can't be as serious as it's the stupidest question that I might have ever read. You say no and laugh at him for even asking. Then you break up and just move on with your life. However, I'm dying to know what the costume is. Please share. And OP replies, it's a Spider-Man costume with rigid webbing and a screen accurate to the Amazing Spider-Man costume from the movies. You know, a lot of people downvoted OP here. They were answering the question. I don't understand why they downvoted them.
Yeah, I don't know.
They just are angry that she hasn't broken up with him. And Cultural Shape 3518 says, tell him it's not a lot of money for you because you would never in a million years even contemplate something as foolhardy as taking out a 4-figure loan for a holiday that's months away and can be celebrated just if not more effectively with an old bedsheet and a pair of scissors. Or no, or just no works. Or simply laugh as you walk away. Hopefully for good, because I don't know why you're trying to convince yourself that this is a reasonable thing unless you want to spend the rest of your life in debt catering to an overgrown 5-year-old's every whim. And OP replies, I'm struggling and rationalizing it because my boyfriend has already invested about $700 into the costume and has been stressing and nonstop talking to me and showing me pictures of what the costume he wants is and cried to me over the phone about how he has always wanted to dress up in this costume since he was a child. He has never mentioned this character or costume to me since we've been together. He stressed how life-changing this costume was, and that he told me that I would happily starve for weeks if it means that I have this costume, which I really don't want to have to do for him. All right, folks. I think that this is way above our pay grades at this point in time. He has a lot of things to work through if he is viewing his priorities are very much wrong in life if he would rather starve to have this costume. I think that that's not a healthy point of view. I don't think that's a healthy perspective. There are certain basic needs that humans have, and I'm wondering if he's just saying this.
Oh, that's absolutely. I think he's just saying it. I mean, my guess is he has really poor impulse control, it sounds like, and wants to get everything he wants, and is saying this just to, like, pull on OP's heartstrings to be like, I would starve for this costume, so the least you could do is lend me some money.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like this is such a odd thing to say to somebody else. It's like, oh, I would totally starve to have this costume. And I feel bad for OP because he's clearly being manipulative in this case. But let me know what you folks think. Alright folks, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Wanting to Sell Part of Our Property to My Brother-in-Law who is only supposed to be staying with us temporarily? I'm a 35-year-old female and my husband is a 33-year-old male and we have 4 kids together. A 5-year-old female, a 3-year-old female, a 1-year-old male, and a 1-year-old male. And I'm a stay-at-home mom, and after the youngest 2 were born, I told my husband how much I was struggling looking after the kids and looking after the house. He said that he would be fine with getting someone to help, and asked me if I would want someone to look after the kids for me or someone to look after the house for me. I wanted as much time with the kids as possible and didn't want someone else filling in the parent role, so I asked him to hire someone to look after the house, so he did. We went through a few different people before we found the perfect person, his younger brother. He's a sweet kid, a 21-year-old male, and our kids love him, and I feel comfortable with him around, and we don't argue like some of the other maids and housekeepers that we've tried. When he first moved into our house, my husband gave him one of the guest rooms with an ensuite, and that seemed to be fine until now, apparently. On our property, there is a lovely small cottage. It's about a 20-minute walk from the main house. I've always loved this little cottage and have dreamt of living there when we give the kids the house when they are older. Well, since he has been living and working here for a year, my husband thought that it would be a good idea to sell him the small cottage and a little bit of land around it. His reasoning was that it's just a guest room and it really wasn't enough privacy and that we don't really use the cottage at all, and he just wanted to sell it to his brother, and by sell he means sell for way less than it's worth. I immediately said no, that I don't want his brother to have the cottage. How unfair he is just to give it away to somebody, especially someone who is only supposed to be living here temporarily. He told me that 4 years, how long we planned to have him around, wasn't temporary. It is. And that it was his property that he was given by his grandmother before he even met me. I told him that it was unfair for him to lord this over me and that I should get a say in what happens in our home. I then threatened to tell his family what he's doing. His family doesn't like his brother and would hate to know that he was getting part of his grandmother's house. He yelled at me and called me petty and spiteful. I'm not talking to him until he apologizes and agrees not to sell the cottage. He obviously thinks that I'm the jerk, and I don't think I am. He is making choices about our house without consulting me and ignoring my input, and holding the fact that he owns the house over my head. So am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Yeah, I'm going to say you're the jerk. There's another piece of information in the comments. The reason why the family doesn't like the brother is he's gay. So there's also homophobia at play here.
Okay, so that's not good. That's homophobia is always bad.
Yeah.
But, oh, what were you going to say?
Go ahead.
I was going to say that I think that a married couple should be making decisions about the house and how to divvy up the property together. And I think that it is a little bit unfair for him to make this decision without consulting OP.
Yeah, I mean, there is a bit of everyone's a jerk here, but I think him much less than her because she's clearly being very greedy, and it sounds like she just doesn't want to share anything and is willing to go stoop to like...
Well, why do they need to sell it to him? Why can't he just live there? He doesn't. That's not like they have to sell him the guest room that he's currently living in. So I don't really understand the point of selling it to him.
Well,
Why
I think
not
it's
just
so he can have some property and get some inheritance, because it sounds like he got nothing because he's gay.
So if he got absolutely nothing, then I can understand why OP's husband would want to remedy that. So I think that this is something that OP and their husband need to talk about and resolve in something like marital counseling. And I know that she has her heart set on this cottage, but maybe they can work out some kind of alternate way of giving the brother some kind of inheritance or something else like that. I'm really not sure.
Well, and my question is, did she really have her heart set on the cottage, or was it just once she heard her husband was going to sell it to his brother, all of a sudden she has these grand dreams? Because it sounds like they're not even using the cottage currently as it stands, and if she loved it so much, you'd think she'd be there all the time.
Yeah, I could understand like if OP was actually over in the cottage, she uses it as like a temporary area, but it's a 20-minute walk too, so I can understand why it would be a little bit of a burden to go out there every day. Not that a 20-minute walk is like huge amount of time.
No, but you'd think, a few times a year in the nice months, and it sounds like it's getting very little use at current. So.
Yeah. So I would probably have to know more details about how much she uses this cabin, because this is something that she goes out to once a week, and the husband is like, we don't use it, even though she goes out there frequently.
Yeah, I mean, that's a valid thing, is like, it depends, like, is it actually not getting used by her, or is he just saying, oh, well, I don't use it, so we don't use it. But I really think her whole attitude here is a little bit concerning.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially if she's going to go tattle to the rest of the family about the brother being given a piece of the inheritance, even though they don't like him because he's gay. I mean, that's absolutely horrible, and I think that this family is just not a good family. Because,
in general, I do believe that, once you're married, you should consider property jointly, even if it's a premarital asset. It sounds like this is a premarital asset, so it wouldn't be subject. Legally, he'd be able to sell it.
Yeah, legally, she would have no say, probably.
And I do think that you should talk things over, but also it sounds like they have so much house and land, and they've got the money to hire someone to take care of their house and everything. So.
Yeah, why can't they find another place on the property to build a second cottage, right? If this is what they have their heart set on. Or if that cottage isn't good enough, maybe they can find a different place on the property for OP's brother to have, right? And I still think that selling him a piece of land, if they have a lot of land, isn't a bad thing, or even just giving it to him, right, and building a house for him. And I understand the privacy issue because it probably would be nice to have a little more privacy. So I think there's a resolution here, but I think they're both kind of acting bad in the respect that they're not listening to each other and not working together as a team. Instead, they're acting as adversaries. And again, like OP's behavior here with the whole homophobia thing and trying to use homophobia to prevent him from getting the cabin, not cool at all. And I would totally think that she's wrong for that. But again, let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Ad Dangerous says, surely renting it out to him would be the ideal situation. And OP replies, my husband wants to sell it to him as his brother has been struggling. He gets no support or help from his family, and some relatives have even made it harder for him to get a job. He doesn't want to rent either, as he doesn't want to be his brother's boss and landlord, as he feels that's unfair. And, that's fair, right? Mm-hmm. But they don't have to rent it to him. They can just give it to him to use, too, right? And Beanflicker2 says, do you pay the brother in addition to lodging? And OP replies, yes, we pay him, plus provide him with enough ingredients to also make food for himself when he has to cook for us. Plus, my husband will treat him all the time. Hazard A23 says, info, why was the brother disowned? And OP replies, he was the product of my husband's dad's affair, which is why their grandmother left him nothing. Plus, he was like 10 when she passed. Then he came out as a teenager, which caused most of his family to disown him. So the grandmother's inheritance sounds like a little bit of a different situation there.
Yeah, but still, not cool. The family is like, we don't want you to have anything because you're gay.
Well, I also think that this is not fair to him because he didn't choose to be an affair child, right? And I think that kind of perspective isn't a good perspective. And Present Tiffany says, info. Since discussing the use of the property is so important, have you previously discussed your plans for the second house that your husband owns to move in when you're older? Or did you just assume that's how it would go because you were married? And OP replies, I hadn't talked to him about it because it's just so far away. I would have brought it up when we got older, but for now, it was just a nice dream. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got a beverage of choice right here, and Amber, she's got a joke.
When do you stop at green and go at red?
I can tell you exactly when you stop at green and you go at red. It's when you are driving backwards. And that's the new laws of the road. So if you're driving backwards, that's how you navigate traffic.
I do not want to be on these roads.
Well, I mean, how many people drive backwards, though? I mean, this is like everyone. If you're in the land of backwards and everyone is driving and you're driving backwards, which is pretty difficult, but I mean, all the other cars are driving backwards too.
I'm not going to the land of backward.
I mean, it's perfectly fine, right? And so that's
when you're eating a watermelon.
That's not bad. That's not bad. I got a little bit of a laugh somewhere in there, and I'm like, I don't know whether to laugh at this or to cringe at it, so I just kind of was confused there for a second. And I have Mega Mint tea. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Wednesday, Hump Day, Friday Junior's Eve. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it something that might be written on a very expensive Halloween card.
Trick or treat. I hope you're not expecting candy because I spent all my money on this costume. Happy Halloween.
That's pretty good. I like it. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Bye.